Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I hope you're all doing very well. So, the nominees for the 2024 Oscars were announced earlier today, and so you know what that means. Yes, as is tradition on this channel, I'm going to be reacting to the nominees list, and we are going to be diving into who I think should win based off of my opinion. Okay, and also who I think will likely win based off of the buzz that each of these nominees have received across awards season. And as per usual, I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on who you think should win and will win for the 2024 Academy Awards. Now, I've been doing this awards season coverage for a hot minute now. I believe I'm on my 4th year of covering the Oscars, and so I thought I would mix things up just a little bit, spice things up just a little bit, and I'm actually going to be adding an extra little section to this video by presenting you with my ideal nominations list for some key categories in the Oscars. Now, usually I just talk about who I wanted to see in the nominations list, but this time around I've actually written it down, okay, so that you guys can actually see what my ideal lineup would have been if I had any real power in Hollywood, if I had any real say in the Academy. Listen, okay, I am the sole voter of the most important awards in Hollywood, the Genie Awards, okay, but unfortunately I don't hold much power with the Academy, so the second most important awards don't have much to do with me. So I'm going to be presenting you guys my ideal lineup, sticking to the rules this time because I know that I've been playing fast and loose with the number of nominees that I include for the Genie Awards, but this time around we're sticking to the rule of 5 for most of the categories except Best Picture, and hopefully this will make it easier for you guys to see what I wanted the nominees list to look like versus the list that we actually got. But before we dive into all of that good stuff, as per usual, if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to my channel and make sure you turn on your notifications so that you can be told when I upload next. And be sure to give this video a thumbs up, please. It really helps the channel out and it lets me know that you enjoy my awards coverage, okay? So now that we have gotten that out of the way, without further ado, let's dive into my reaction for the 2024 Oscars nominations. Okay, so we're already starting off with a juicy category because first one up we've got is Best Actress. Now here is what my ideal nominees list would look like. You see all these golden nominees? I feel like this is a good balance of the nominees that I would want to see based off of my personal preferences, but also the nominees that would likely be in the awards conversation anyway. Like, this just seems perfect to me, right? Well, this is the nominees list that we actually got. So for the Best Actress category, the Academy decided that the nominees would be Annette Bening for Nyad, Kerry Mulligan for Maestro, Emma Stone for Poor Things, Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon, and Sandra Hüller for Anatomy of a Fall. So where's Margot Robbie? I think that's the question that most of us had when we saw this nominees list. Where is she? It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me that the icon of the year, Barbie herself, has not been nominated for her incredible work in that film. And the fact that that film does have that powerful feminist message and it's directed by a woman, we'll talk about that in a second. It's directed by a woman. It's a celebration of womanhood and girlhood. And yet the woman at the center of it all has been ignored by the Academy. That doesn't sit well with me. That's actually quite insane to me. Of all of the different configurations that I came up with for my ideal Best Actress list, none of them omitted Margot Robbie, because in my mind she was a given. Like, it's crazy. I took it for granted. In my mind, she was a given to be featured on this list. And yet here we are, the nominees are out and she's nowhere to be found. I think that is absolutely shocking. Now, in terms of who I would replace for Margot Robbie to be in here, it would absolutely be a net benefit. Like, I hope that's obvious. Like, it is obvious, right? Like, it's absolutely a net bending that should, boom, get the boot out of here, and Margot should definitely be in her place. That's not even a hard one. But Margot Robbie wasn't the only major snub in this category. I was also very disappointed that Fantasia didn't get a nod, and neither did Greta Lee for her work in Past Lives. I was less disappointed about that because I've always said that, to me, the shining performance in Past Lives was that of her co-star TUU, but still, she seemed like a lock to other people, so I saw a lot of disappointment around that. I'm more disappointed about Fantasia, and especially Margot. I just feel like that's insane. It's like an active refusal to recognize the work of this incredible production and how it literally saves cinema. It literally saves cinema for 2023, and the Academy just refuses to acknowledge it. It's wild. Now, in terms of who I think should win / will win, this is a pretty easy one, but we'll quickly go through the list. I haven't watched Nyad, but I still think that Annette Bening should absolutely be booted from this list, and Margot should slide in there instead. I don't care. Maybe if you've watched Nyad, let me know. Let me know if you enjoyed it. If you think Annette Bening was really that good to take Margot Robbie's place, let me know down in the comments below, okay? It's freedom of speech. You can share your thoughts on Nyad, a film that no one watched, apart from you, maybe. And then next up, we have Carey Mulligan. I've sung the praises of Carey Mulligan's performance in Maestro many, many times. Like, actually, I'm a huge, huge fan of the work that she did in that film, and I think she's wholly deserving to be on this list. Over Margot or Fantasia? That's when you start to challenge me a little bit. That's when I'm like, If you ask me to choose between Margot or Fantasia or Carey Mulligan, like Margot or Fantasia is winning. sorry, but hands down, Margot or Fantasia are winning. And then next up we have Emma Stone for Poor Things, and this is a new one for this video because during my Golden Globes coverage I hadn't actually watched Poor Things yet, but it has since been released in the UK and I got a chance to check it out, and you know, that's a good film. Not gonna lie, Poor Things is actually a good film, you know, like Poor Things is actually quite decent. No, but seriously, I really enjoyed Poor Things. Oh, I really, really loved it. It's so clever. It's also so classically Yorgos Lanthimos, like it's weird and booky and scary and creepy and so adult. super adult. It was rated 18. And I was like, oh, do I need to get like my driver's license out? And then I was like, Jean, please, like no one's gonna think you're under 18. But yeah, it's so rare to see a film that's actually rated 18, especially if it's not horror, but deservedly so, because it is like very sexually explicit. Like there's a lot going on in that movie, okay? But I really enjoyed it, and I have to say, speaking on the Best Actress category, Emma Stone absolutely deserves. She absolutely deserves to be here. Now, the petty part of me just wants someone else to win, and I think they will win, because she's already got the Oscar for La La Land, and it's like, we need to expand. We need to broaden our horizons just a little bit. But if it wasn't for the fact that Emma Stone already had an Oscar, I personally would say hands down she deserved to win this year. Like hands down, this was my favorite performance out of the ones included here, because you know what she did in that film was actually quite extraordinary. I'm sorry. And not to mention, she doesn't have the issue that I think her co-nominee does, which is that she's actually the lead actress in her film. Oh, let's talk about it. Next up we have Lily Gladstone. Now, like I've said before, I thought she was phenomenal in Killers of the Flower Moon. Okay, I have a whole review. I've talked about it in the Genie Awards and the Golden Globes coverage. Like I've said this many times. I think she was brilliant in that film, but I think she was given a supporting actress role, and she's being nominated for Best Lead Actress, and I think that's slightly unfair. And I respect the fact that the studio and Martin Scorsese and Lily Gladstone herself wanted to push her forward as a lead actress. Like, that's fine for them to feel that way. But I feel, based off of the film that I saw, that she's a supporting actress. She was given a supporting role. And in my opinion, if Martin Scorsese wanted this Native American actress to be considered for awards in the leading categories, then he should have given her a leading role in the film. Do you know what I mean? Like, he should have written her as the main character and not Leonardo DiCaprio. Instead of telling the story from his point of view, he should have told it from hers, and that would have solved this issue. So that's my stance on the whole Killers of the Flower Moon situation, and that's why I feel like Lily Gladstone should technically be in supporting, despite what the studio, the director, and the actress may feel themselves. But it doesn't matter at the end of the day, because I do think that Lily Gladstone is very likely to take home the award when all is said and done, unless there is this like last minute major upset from Emma Stone, who, once again, I really admired her performance in Poor Things, and I think she is a true leading actress in that film, so I wouldn't be too mad. But you know, just for the case of the politics of it all, the fact that she already has an Oscar, and the fact that Lily Gladstone would be the first Native American actress to get an Oscar in this category, I would support Lily hands down. And that might upset some of you, thinking like, oh, it should only be about the best performance, blah blah blah. But award season is political. Don't get it twisted. It's always political. I've been doing this for several years now, so I know how this works. And these considerations will definitely be running through the voters' minds as well. Okay, so next up, of course, we have Best Actor. And here are my ideal nominees for this category. Okay, like this is the list that I would have loved to have seen. Okay, if the Academy was listening to me for once. But this is the list that we actually ended up getting. And honestly, it's not too far off. So the nominees for Best Actor are Bradley Cooper for Maestro, Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, Coleman Domingo for Rustin, Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction, and Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers. So yes, the only difference between my ideal list versus the list that we actually got is TUU from Past Lives being absent and instead replaced with Jeffrey Wright from American Fiction. Now, I don't have a problem with this whatsoever. The only reason why I omitted American Fiction is because I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it yet. It's not out yet here in the UK. All of these films are coming out super late now, and it's really annoying. But it is one of my most highly anticipated films of this year now, so I will be checking it out as soon as it hits cinemas. But that is the only reason why Jeffrey Wright wasn't on my ideal list. Not to mention, like I said before, I really enjoyed TUU in Past Lives. I thought he had the standout performance over Greta Lee, although they were both brilliant. And so I was disappointed to see that he didn't get a shout from the Academy and from many people, really, other than the BAFTAs. The BAFTAs were the only group that actually acknowledged his amazing work in that film, and so it's a shame that the Oscars didn't follow suit. Now, in terms of who I think should win / will win in the nominees list that we actually ended up getting, this is interesting, okay? Because a few months back when I first saw Maestro, my head was all my head was in a tizzy. I was all, you know, I was a bit lost. I was a bit dazed and confused. And so I was really high on Bradley Cooper's performance in that film. I thought his portrayal of Leonard Bernstein was just immaculate. It was incredible and transcending. That sounds so pretentious, but I genuinely just like, I was head over heels. I was like, oh, this is actoring. This is incredible. I still think he was brilliant, but I feel like now that time has passed, I'm less like dazed and confused over both of these performances. And so I'm siding with Cillian. All that's to say, I'm back on the Cillian train. I never left. Okay, I'm still the biggest Cillian Murphy fan in the world. Check the receipts. Check the receipts, okay? My Peaky Blinders season 6 review, I've been saying this. Anyway, so I'm still the biggest Cillian Murphy fan in the world, and I'm back on the train just in time for the Academy Awards because I think he should win, and I think he likely will win. The one upset that I see coming, and this is so ironic because it's not Bradley Cooper, okay, despite the fact that he really wanted it to be, but no, the one upset that I potentially could see coming would be Paul Giamatti. He got some heat. He got some heat out of nowhere, and I was like, oh, Paul Giamatti, good for him, because he was brilliant in The Holdovers. What a complicated and unlikable character that he played the hell out of. So if there is someone who could swoop in there and do something, it would be Paul Giamatti, because he did end up stealing that award. He yanked that award from Cillian's hands when it came to the Critics' Choice Awards. So any anything is possible. I still think if there's any justice in this world, that Cillian Murphy will go home with that Oscar, will go to his parents' house with that Oscar and have tea and eat cake. If you've seen the interview, you know what I'm talking about. There could be a chance that Paul Giamatti sweeps in there in the last minute. I don't think it's going to happen, but if it does happen, don't say I didn't warn you. Okay, so next up we have Best Supporting Actress, and here is the list of my ideal nominees for this category versus the list that we ended up getting. So here the nominees for Best Supporting Actress are America Ferrera for Barbie, Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers, Danielle Brooks for The Color Purple, Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer, and Jodie Foster for Nyad. So as you can probably tell, the only two that I have a serious issue with is Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer and Jodie Foster for Nyad. First of all, Nyad isn't a real film, it doesn't exist, so why is she there? Boot her out. Okay, second of all, Emily Blunt. I've said this many times. I said, no. If you watch my Oppenheimer review, if you've watched my awards coverage, you already know what I'm gonna say. Emily Blunt's role in that film was so poor. It was so badly written. Christopher Nolan does not know what to do with women. When are people going to see this the way that I do? Some of you guys agree though, so you've already clocked the tea. But Christopher Nolan doesn't know what to do with women. He's never written a compelling female character. He doesn't know what to do with them. And so Emily Blunt's character is just such an insult to womanhood, quite frankly. And the only reason why she's here is because she has that one iconic, to be fair, moment during Oppenheimer's trial where she's like sassing the people that are interrogating him. And like, good on her. Good for you, sis. You know, you stand up for your man who cheated on you with a younger model. Okay, whatever. Anyways, who cheated on you with a young communist lady who ended up being killed under mysterious circumstances. Good for you, sis. Stay by your man. But yeah, I don't think Emily Blunt deserves to be here. I don't think she needed to be here. As you saw from my list of ideal candidates, we had plenty of others, like the whole cast of The Color Purple. Why were they ignored largely? Although we'll talk about the exception. But Emily Blunt in this category is just taking up space. You know, she's taking up space for someone who is just so much more deserving, and it's pissing me off. A positive surprise was the inclusion of America Ferrera for Barbie. I really love to see that, because if you really want to talk about key moments, that one key scene that made a performance shine, it would definitely be America Ferrera's monologue at the end of Barbie, which summarizes the, you know, key feminist themes of that film brilliantly. And it really, you know, touched a nerve with me, as it did with many people around the world. And so I think she is wholly deserving to be in this category. And also, not to mention, she played an active role in the story throughout. Like, she was good throughout. And just because her performance was, you know, deadpan humor doesn't mean that it didn't involve talent. Doesn't mean it didn't involve skill. Like, people think that humor is just funny until you see someone fumble and you're like, oh, actually this is quite hard. You know, comedy, making people laugh is tricky. And I'm also so happy for Danielle Brooks. I can't speak too much on her performance in The Color Purple because I haven't seen it yet. Again, it's not out. It will be out, I think, at the end of this week, so I'm going to see it as soon as I can. But I'm just so happy for her. Like, seeing her journey, starting off in Orange is the New Black to now being an Oscar nominated actress, that's insane. That's wild. That's the stuff of dreams. That's like a Quinta Brunson type story. So I'm so happy to be seeing these incredible success stories, especially for these Black women. Like, I just think it's an amazing achievement, and they're wholly deserving because their talents shone from the very beginning. But speaking of talented Black women, when it comes to who I think will win and should win in this category, it's Divine Joy Randolph. It's Divine Joy Randolph's to lose, quite frankly. I can't even see an upset here. Like, if there is an upset, it wouldn't be an upset, it would be a devastation. It'd be a catastrophe. Okay, so next up we have the nominees for Best Supporting Actor. Now, here are my ideal nominees for the category. Take a good look, suss the vibe. Hopefully you agree with me. Let me know if you don't. As for the actual nominees for Best Supporting Actor, they are Mark Ruffalo for Poor Things, Robert De Niro for Killers of the Flower Moon, Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer, Ryan Gosling for Barbie, and Sterling K. Brown for American Fiction. So the big upset here was the lack of Charles Melton for May December. I was just as disappointed as everyone else. Like I really wanted him to get to that final stage, get the Academy Award nom, especially because he is a Riverdale actor. Like, it's just an incredible story, okay? But also because he's wholly deserving. He absolutely made that film, in my opinion. I had a lot of issues with May December. I felt like the tone was a little bit uneven. I thought they should have just committed to it being a drama rather than trying to inject this weird comedy that made light of a very serious issue. Like, I just wasn't a fan of some of the aspects of that film, but Charles Melton just like brought so much life and anguish and complexity to the character and to the film overall, that I just think he was such a standout performance that deserved recognition. Charles Melton was so clearly the best part of that film, and it was one of the best performances of the year that I think hands down he deserved to be on this list. And as you probably saw, I also had another slot for Dominic Sessa from The Holdovers. I would have loved to see him get a nod as well. The whole trio was absolutely brilliant, and the film was so focused on them and their character development that I think it makes sense that Dominic Sessa would be on this list as well. Like, he held his own against some seasoned actors, and this was his first ever role. He's not a professional actor. He's never done this before. He's literally never done this before, and I don't know if that worked against him, you know, when it came to the nominations, but I think it would have been great to acknowledge the brilliant work that he did, because the Academy tends to ignore the work of young people, especially child actors. Like, where's the guy from Anatomy of a Fall? That boy was absolutely phenomenal, but he got completely ignored, not even nodded to. So yeah, it's tough. You know, the Academy has their preferences, and I think maybe that also affected Charles Melton, the fact that he is a Riverdale boy, and they were like, no, he's not good enough for us. But in terms of who I think should win versus will win, this has become abundantly clear, but in my dream reality, Ryan Gosling would take this home for his role as Ken. Although in my dream reality, Margot Robbie wouldn't be absent from the list entirely, so it would be less ludicrous, because how are you going to reward Ken for his role in the Barbie movie? Like, how are you going to do that? So now, like, it just seems crazy, right? But yeah, in my ideal world, it would go to anyone but Robert Downey Jr. But that's exactly who it's going to end up going to in real life, unfortunately. I've said my thoughts on RDJ's performance in Oppenheimer many times. I won't harp on about it. But to summarize, I just didn't think he disappeared into the role. I saw a lot of the RDJ-isms that we've seen time and time again. And so I just didn't find his performance as transformative as Killian's. But he seems to be the favourite in this category for this whole season. So he's likely going to take this home as well. Okay, so next up we have Best Director. Now these are my ideal nominees for this category. Yeah, take a good look. Okay, we have some familiar faces here. It's not too different to what we ended up with. And here's what we ended up with. So the nominees in this category are Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest, Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall, Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon, and Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things. Where is Greta? Why do they hate Barbie? I don't understand. She created a phenomenon. She created an entire world. I'm actually speechless. I just think if there was ever an example of blatant sexism, misogyny, bias, unconscious or otherwise, this is a perfect example. Because what do you mean Greta Gerwig, who directed Barbie, the biggest film of 2023, not just in terms of box office success, but just in terms of cultural impact, okay? What do you mean the director of that film doesn't deserve to at least be nominated alongside her peers? At least that in this year's awards. Like, what? It's just insulting. It's insane. It's insane. But let's take a look at who is here. So first one up we have is Christopher Nolan. Massive eye roll. But he's likely going to take this home, like straight up. Like, he's likely going to take home the Oscar for Best Director, and there's nothing I can do about it. There's not enough negative energy I can send out into the world to stop this from happening. And no, I'm just kidding. He probably deserves it for Oppenheimer. Like, fine, whatever. I think it's crazy that Greta's not even on this. Like, it's so it's so insulting. Like, what do you mean you can't even nominate her? Who's this Jonathan Glazer? Get him out of there. Get him out of there right now. We also have Justine Triet as the only female director on this list, and I think that's absurd in a year where we got incredible work from female directors like Greta Gerwig, but also A.V. Rockwell, who directed 1001, and she was on my ideal nominees list. And then you also have Celine Song, who directed Past Lives. Like, there was so many options, and they still chose to ignore every single one of them. Whatever. But one slid in there, and that was for Anatomy of a Fall. I really enjoyed that film, so I'm not mad at this, but I just think it's absurd that Greta is not on here. Like, I wouldn't swap out Justine, because I do think you can have more than one woman be featured on this list, the Academy. But I do think that it's crazy that Greta is not even that woman. Like, that's wild. But then, yes, we have Martin Scorsese, who has to be there because he's Martin Scorsese, because anything else would be an insult, like how they treated Greta. Anyway, and then you have Yorgos Lanthimos, which I actually don't mind. I don't mind that he's here. And in fact, if the Academy wants to do something scary, wants to do something spooky, they can give the Oscar to him, because I actually really like Poor Things. I much prefer Poor Things over Oppenheimer. I really loved it, and I think Yorgos Lanthimos' directing style, that the fingerprints that he has all over his work is so distinct and so unique. I do think it deserves recognition, actually. Oh, I said it. I do think he not only deserves to be on this list, but he deserves to take home the award for his work on Poor Things. Yup. But it's not gonna happen. It's gonna go to Christopher Nolan, and I'm just gonna hang my head in disappointment and try to move on with my life, because this one-sided beef against Christopher Nolan needs to end in 2024. Okay, so next up we have Best Original Screenplay. Now, I don't really have any ideal nominees for this category, because I don't really know enough about screenplays and that to really have a strong opinion either way. So we're just going to dive straight into the nominees that we actually got. And here they are: Bradley Cooper and Josh Singer for Maestro, Celine Song for Past Lives, David Hemmingson for The Holdovers, Justine Triet and Arthur Harari for Anatomy of a Fall, and Sammy Birch for May December. So the only nominee that I strongly disagree with from this list is Sammy Birch for May December, because a lot of the issues that I had with that film was surrounding its writing and its directing. So the fact that he is on there is like, but in terms of everyone else, it's fine. Like I said, I don't really have too many strong opinions on this subject. I do remember being somewhat annoyed that Barbie was being considered for Best Adapted Screenplay instead of Original, even though it's not based off of any other written work or anything. It's just based off of an IP. It's based off of a doll. Like, Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach created the story from scratch. So what is it adapted from? Like, what? So that was just ridiculous to me, and I think had she been in the original screenplay category, she likely would have taken home the award. But now she's competing against the adapted screenplay with Christopher Nolan, and it's like, get her away from him. But in terms of who I think should win in this category, I would give it to Celine Song for Past Lives, but I also wouldn't be mad at Bradley Cooper and Josh Singer winning for Maestro, because I think Maestro was very, very well written, and I was shocked to see that Bradley Cooper had written that script, because I think he did a phenomenal job. Although just today I finally watched A Star Is Born. Yes, I hadn't seen it before, and that was also directed by Bradley Cooper, which I didn't realize, and that is a very, very good film. That Bradley Cooper is a very, very good director. And he was also snubbed for directing, mind you, so perhaps the Academy could make that up to him by giving him the award for writing, but I do think I would prefer to see Celine Song win over him. And then similarly we have Best Adapted Screenplay, and here the nominees are Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, Cord Jefferson for American Fiction, Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach for Barbie, Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest, and Tony McNamara for Poor Things. I really want this to go to Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach. We said the second part with like brackets, okay? We whisper the second part. I want this to go to Greta. I want Greta to be holding that award in her hands when all is said and done, because she deserves it. She should have been in Best Director, okay? But at the very least, she should get the award for screenplay. Because, I mean, there's nothing else like it. Have some respect. Oh, and that leads us to the big one, which is, of course, Best Picture. Now, here I do have my list of ideal nominees that I would have loved to have seen on the official nominees list. Let's take a look here. It's just the vibes, see what you guys think. And then this is the list that we actually ended up getting. So the nominees for Best Picture are American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, The Holdovers, and The Zone of Interest. So as you can see, there is quite a bit of overlap between my ideal list versus the official list that we got today. There are a few snubs that I was really upset about. First up, we have The Color Purple not making an appearance on this list. I think that is abysmal. I don't know why they keep ignoring this film. But also, as many people pointed out, and this actually didn't even occur to me because that's how defeated I am on the topic, but where's Spider-Verse? Where is Spider-Verse? Why does the Academy think that it can only nominate live action movies for this category? Because they themselves need to check their own rules. They can nominate an animated film. They could have nominated the first Spider-Verse film, quite frankly, as a Best Picture candidate, and then they certainly could have nominated Across the Spider-Verse. And the fact that they've just reserved these animated films for Best Animated Feature is an insult, because quite frankly, Across the Spider-Verse is better than many of these films on this list. Oh yeah. Yep. I said it, absolutely. In my opinion, Across the Spider-Verse was the best film of 2023, hands down. So the fact that it's not featured on here is an insult. And I even feel bad because I didn't even include it in my ideal list, because that's how, again, defeated I am on the topic. Like, I didn't even think of it as an option because Hollywood continuously forgets to include these animated films in this category. And another key difference is the inclusion of 1001 in my list. I really love that film, and I wish it had gotten any recognition from the Academy at all. It was wishful thinking, although that is the thought exercise, but unfortunately it didn't even get a single nod, so that is really disappointing to me. I think A.V. Rockwell deserved better, as did Teyana Taylor, and the film overall. It was just so spectacular. I highly recommend you check it out if you haven't already. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people of color who are just ignored once again when it came to awards season, including the director of American Fiction. American Fiction got quite a few nods throughout the nominations list, which is great to see, although again I'm eagerly looking forward to watching it for myself, but I'm surprised the director himself wasn't on. Like, why? So you love the film, you love the actors, you love Sterling K. Brown, which I don't blame you, so do I. Okay, by the way, very happy to see him sneak in there as one of the nominees for Best Supporting Actor. It was a surprise, but I think it's wholly earned, because if he's half as good in this film as he is in anything else, then he was absolutely phenomenal. So I was really happy to see Sterling K. Brown get an Oscar nomination, because he's such a phenomenal actor. But it does beg the question of, well, who was directing these incredible performances then? Because the director of American Fiction wasn't even considered throughout awards season for his work, even though his work keeps dotting throughout these nominations list. But anywho, back to Best Picture. When it comes to who I think should win / will win, Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer, whatever. It'll be Oppenheimer. It's the year of Oppenheimer. It's the year of Oppenheimer, and I like that film. I'm so tired of this bit. Like, let's move on. And finally, you have one of my favorite categories of these awards, and that is Best Animated Feature. I do have an ideal list of nominees that you can see right here. Take a look at what I wanted to happen, and then we almost got what we wanted. We almost got what we wanted, but in classic Hollywood fashion, they just had to piss me off with just one thing. They had to find one way to piss me off, and they decided to remove my turtles. remove my nephews, okay, from the list and throw in Robot Dreams, a film that literally doesn't exist. A film that literally doesn't exist. It doesn't have an IMDb page. It doesn't have a Wikipedia page. It does not exist. They made it up. They literally made it up on the spot just to piss me off so they didn't have to include my nephews, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I can't believe the shenanigan. You're telling me that this isn't personal? Look at the way that Hollywood is treating me right now. You're telling me that this isn't personal? They're doing this to me. They're doing this against me. It's crazy. I don't know what I did to them. Maybe Hollywood has a one-sided beef against me the way that I have a one-sided beef against Christopher Nolan. Maybe that's what's going on here, because why else would they not include the Turtles and instead throw in a fictional film? And by fictional, I mean a film that does not exist. But anyways, listen, when it comes to who I think should win, you should know. Did you not hear what I just said before? Yeah, it should be Across the Spider-Verse. Like, it should absolutely be Across the Spider-Verse. Who do I think will win? Unfortunately, because look at what Hollywood loves to do to me. Unfortunately, because of Hollywood's tendency to disappoint me and enrage me, I do think that The Boy and the Heron will likely take this home. I don't want to speak it into existence. I want Spider-Verse to win. I actually want Spider-Verse to sweep for all 3 films, okay? Because it won the first time around. I want it to win for the sequel and also for the threequel, if it's good, of course. Although, I mean, judging from the track record. But that would be amazing. But it's not going to happen because Hollywood's going to Hollywood. So I think they're going to give it to Miyazaki. I think they're going to be like, here, Miyazaki, here's the Oscar. And I can't be mad because it's Miyazaki, but also, like, it's Spider-Verse. We are gonna find out what happens in March during the 2024 Oscar ceremony. So it'll be a wild ride for sure. But until then, that's it from me. Now that I told you guys my thoughts on the nominations list for the 2024 Academy Awards, it's time for you guys to let me know what you thought of this list, who you think will win / should win, down in the comments below. Please be sure to subscribe to catch new videos coming up. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.